It's 8 o'clock in the morning on Wednesday, September 30th, 2023, and I've moved them to the fourth cell of this last section of the rotation that started on the 25th of August. So it rained a little bit this morning. It just got a little wet. My pants are wet, but the ground seems to be a little softer. But that could just be where I was putting the post down. But you can see the ground still appears pretty dry. The cows were not moving this morning. They weren't in the cell that I gave them last night. So I assume they were finding grass somewhere else. There's not much grass here. It's pretty bad looking. So you can see here that although there isn't a lot of goatweed in this particular spot, there's not a lot of grass either. So I have good news though. I was going through the first section where we started the rotation, and it looks like there's a lot of grass, but I had reason to get out of the side-by-side and walk on it. It was like a soft, fuzzy blanket. The grass is really thick there. It's very squishy. So Bermuda grass has kind of a habit of tricking you into thinking there's no grass or very little grass, when in reality it's pretty thick and dense. So that first section has plenty of grass. I was thinking of where to keep the cows if I decided to stop the rotation. And I think I decided I'd rather keep them someplace convenient rather than like in the back of the field far away from the gates. Someplace close to the gate so I can get to them quickly. There's some pretty good grass here. This isn't too bad. It's not all bad here. So the forecast is more rain today. I think about 1 p.m. and 6 p.m. we're expected to get a little bit of rain. Rain tomorrow. I don't think there's rain scheduled for Friday, but I think there's a lot of rain scheduled for Saturday. So all told, we can probably end up with over half an inch this week, which is pretty decent, which would be pretty good. And the goal with the rainwater is to get that water into the roots of the grass, deep in the soil. Not just on the surface. I don't have any use for grass that doesn't put roots down. Our climate is such that we need to be ready for long periods with no rain. By long periods, I mean like months. I don't mean like years. We're not in the West, where it's practically a desert, but still, this is what we got. So my neighbor, it looks like they've been rotating the sheep. It looks like every couple days I come back and they're in someplace new. So I just kind of wanted to compare fields. This is in no way judging my neighbor. He has completely different goals than I do. So, looks like he shredded the goatweed. So you can see that the lack of rain caught up to him, and now he's got a bunch of brown. There's some places where it's green, but mostly it's just brown. And I imagine if you were to take the goatweed off of my pasture, it would look roughly similar, maybe a little more green, but we're not talking about a lot of grass here. So he keeps a lot fewer cows, and he tends to just let the cows roam the entire field. He doesn't rotate them. I think he brings them into the pen sometimes and feeds them and stuff like that, but yeah, he's doing a more traditional approach of cattle. And then my neighbor 2 doors down, he brought a sheep here to my neighbor's property because the the parasite overload. He's losing a lot of sheep to parasites, worms, and so he wanted to apply some chemicals to his field to kill the parasites and give some time for that chemical to work. And I think he's using an electric fence. He's using like temporary fencing, and I'm pretty sure he's moving the sheep, because I come back here and they're in different places. So he's definitely grazing the sheep, moving them. So I know he's told me a couple times that I have pretty good grass in my field, despite the goatweed. But that was a month ago. A month ago it looked a lot better than it does now. So we're almost halfway through September. Or are we halfway? I don't know. I forgot the date. So normally September is pretty warm, pretty dry. September, where I come from, that's the beginning of autumn. Once you kind of get out of August into September, you might get a couple more warm weeks. But that's when temperatures start falling. And by the end of September, you're back to rainy, wet Pacific Northwest weather, where it just sprinkles all the time. And the ground's wet and it's dark. But here, that really doesn't start until mid-November. So we get a nice long autumn, depending on whether October's hot. But typically September's pretty warm, and then in October it cools down a bunch, and then at the end of November you have to put a coat on to go out to the field. Otherwise you'll get cold. You'll catch a cold. But yeah, so that's where we're at. We're kind of at the tail end of the hot summer. So hopefully we'll get something growing here soon. Hopefully we'll get some rain to wake it up. So this is a somewhat fresh paddy. You can see it's full of holes. Looks like some kind of cheese or something. I don't know what to call it. Sourdough, with all the big holes in the bread. Anyway, that's all I got for you guys today. Have a great day. Take care and bye-bye.